Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here talking about Browns Bengals. So sort of a shocker for a lot of people, although some
Some
online
analysts.
sports analysts did take the Browns, citing that they were 8-2 in the last 5 years. And I remember saying specifically we had a discussion about whether Joe Burrow was going to play, and I said I don't care if he plays. I'm taking the Browns. Um, Browns defeat the Bengals 24-3. Some highlights here is that it was pouring down rain at one point. It was raining sideways in the stadium, and Joe Burrow had 82 yards after becoming the highest paid NFL player of all time. Isn't that kind of funny? Not something that is unfamiliar that we haven't seen before, but I want to just start by saying, obviously, I highlighted, as a prediction that the Browns match up really good against the Bengals. I also said that I don't exactly see all the talent on the Bengals team, and that I felt like they were kind of outplaying their actual talent and skill. Um, and some of it just doesn't add up besides the Joe Burrow factor. But another thing that I really don't like about the Bengals is whatever they're doing on the coaching staff. I don't believe in Zach Taylor in the games. And this is another example of it. It's pouring down rain, and the Bengals offense is committing to deep down the field passes as if they're in LA, like the Miami Dolphins. Over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what the down and distance is. Joe Burrow is chucking the ball up to Higgins or Jamar Chase, right? Just to give you like the actual stats, Cincinnati, uh, they went with 32 passes and 20 runs in this game, whereas Cleveland went with 29 passes and 40 runs. Okay. And that's really the difference, is that now maybe Cincinnati doesn't have a run game, but that's clearly an issue, especially when you play in Cincinnati in the AFC North, right? Like you're going to want to be able to feed Joe
Yeah,
Mixon. And I think Joe Mixon had like, I think he had like 4.5 yards a carry or something. I
yeah.
don't think
He averaged 4 point. He averaged 4.3. Next guy was 2 for 12. And then the guy with 2 for 7, which are
so.
all respectable numbers.
What are we doing? What are we doing? It's pouring down rain. And oh yeah, Joe Burrow, throw it to the sideline, throw it to the sideline, throw it to the sideline, over and over and over again. And I just want to highlight, you know, I think we've been clear about our feelings on a guy who's at quarterback for the Browns. Um, he played awful. I mean, both these guys were playing in the rain, and Deshaun Watson played terrible. Basically, bounced past, balls to guys the entire day. He got a little bit better in the second half. He did run in a TD, but he looked awful, and he was probably twice as good as Joe Burrow in this game. And that's telling you something, right? That's telling you something. Now, both these guys are getting paid huge amounts of money, and maybe it's the rain, whatever, but there was wide open guys for Deshaun Watson that he was just straight up missing. And they should have blown out the Bengals by even more than just
Yeah.
21 points. If he could have hit some guys early in the game, they could have blown it open to start. But I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati. I didn't have him going to the playoffs. I still don't have him going to the playoffs. This just kind of confirms my feelings about the team going into the season. What do you got, Jack?
Yeah, I would say two take is one of them. One of these things you just gave me the idea of. But yeah, I mean the big thing for me was what you started getting at in there was the Bengals run game was decent. And that's the thing. Oftentimes Joe Mixon's out there averaging, and their line and all. Obviously, it's not just him. He's averaging like two and a half a carry. They're up. They can be up. They can be in it, and they're having chances to run, and he's averaging 2.5 per carry. Getting what was it, four? What did I say? 4.3 a carry. Having some other guys not running a lot, but having some of the other guys in your committee getting decent yardage. It is tough not relying on that, especially in rainy games, especially in a rainy game like this. Obviously, once they get down a bit, they have to commit to the pass. But the first quarter, neither team scored. Right? They could have ran. They could have ran all day the first quarter, especially if that was the rainy quarter. And even when they're down a bit, there's plenty of time in the game. You can still run the ball. That is tough, especially in those conditions. So yeah, that's the big takeaway. Second thing is, the one thing I'll say is the Bengals did lose. I believe they lost the first game last season as well. It was that real nail biter against the Steelers where Burrow got sacked like 5 times or something. Um, or more than
Yeah,
that, but like through like
they're
four
no,
picks.
they
That's
are
it.
known. They
So
are
they
known
can
for
lose.
a
They can
slow
lose people.
start. They are known for a slow start,
That's
and
all.
Joe has been out because of the injury. And so yes, maybe it's just another Bengals
But
slow start, but
you're
I
right.
don't know.
All right. I recognize your views here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. Now let's go to where I completely was wrong in my predictions. Went out on a limb and took the Steelers against the 49ers. Actually, I actually saw quite a few people taking them. I think the line was only 4.5 or something
People
like that.
started, yeah, people online started talking about this,
Yeah, so I
and
mean, maybe it
analysts.
wasn't
Yeah,
that crazy of a pick, but you know what? Now it looks like it was a ridiculous pick, right? Because 49ers steamroll the Steelers 30-7. If I have I think I have that score right.
I
Uh,
think that's right.
was not even close to. I mean, throughout the entire game, Steelers offensively had basically nothing, and 49ers did whatever they wanted in the pass game, in the run game, just killed them. So I'll start with
Yeah,
sort of what I take away from this game. You know, this started with the 49ers basically stuffing the run for the Steelers, right? It they This is one of those examples of they did not run the ball well at all against the 49ers, and they got out of it immediately. They said to themselves, I guess the game plan was we're just running into nothing. We're losing yardage on these runs. Instead, we're going to say we're going to give it to Pickett and let him cook, right? Which maybe, I mean, I'm not sure if that was the best decision either because he threw a couple of picks, didn't look very good at all. There was a lot of hype going into his second season, especially considering how good of a preseason he had. But preseason, I guess, doesn't mean much. A lot of people could have told you that. But yeah, they stuffed the run game, and now Pickett throws 46 times. Right? It's not a good recipe for the Steelers. Even though I like the Pickett Pickens combination and I like their receiving core, we got to get Najee Harris going, and 49ers shut that down. Um, and then on the offensive side, I mean, you name it. What do you want? Most importantly, McCaffrey ran all over them. They were getting 5.5 yards a carry. They had almost 200 yards in total rushing against the Steelers defense. This is a lot more concerning to me. I know that the offense isn't the strength of the Steelers. I had them going into the playoffs, and I like them going into the season. But the defense, we know the 49ers are sort of an OP strong team, but they didn't look good at all. The Steelers defense didn't look good at all. It's the secondary. They didn't really get pressure on Brock Purdy. And then just to finish off, I mean, Brock Purdy. I mean, I thought kind of he might be a little rusty with the elbow. Looked fantastic, just like last year. Picked up right where he left off. What do you got, Jack?
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with everything you said. They got off to a good start, and it was kind of, yeah, like you were saying, on all sides of the ball. Defense was playing well, offense was playing well. Brock Purdy got to have the sort of games he would have last year. Yeah, he wasn't throwing for 400 yards, but he's able to manage the game. He's able to throw the touchdowns. Throw to the open receiver. Like he'd do the stuff that he was doing last game, and that they went 7-1 or whatever in starts at the end of last year. Was able to continue that, which for me was a good sign. Seeing him be able to continue some of that momentum from last year is great. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey averaged 6.9 per carry, 22 rushes, 152 yards. Obviously on the team as a whole it wasn't that high, but what is also
That's
a slight sort of side note for any, I don't know, prop bet enjoyers, sort of defensive player of the year, that stuff like that. TJ Watt did have 3 sacks this game. Three sacks for TJ Watt's pretty good. I think someone else had 3 sacks too, but not someone I was thinking was going to be in the sack leader race. I forget who it was, but someone else in the league also had 3 sacks today. But still, TJ Watt, for that sort of, anyone who's looking for that, defensive player of the year, sack leader, stuff like that. Interesting thing to watch. Good week one
he
start because TJ Watt was out a large amount of last year. So
absolutely, and he did have a strip sack on Brock Purdy, and he recovered. But it's funny because I mean, you have T.J. Watt have 3 sacks. It just
and they lost
usually
by 23.
that's a game changer. Usually, you say to yourself, he's gonna that will be the difference maker, especially with a strip sack recovery. Right? Doesn't even matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's not even close. So, yeah, it's as someone who liked the Steelers to go to the playoffs. Obviously, we disagreed about that last week. It's very worrisome for me, but